Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to today's Toolbox Talk webinar. So today we have Paul Williams who will be giving an overview of ECA's eRAMS software. If you just go to the next slide please, Paul. So at the end of today's session, he will be answering your questions. So please submit these via the Q&A function, which should just be on your screen now. Today's session is being recorded, so it will be available to watch on ECA's website after the session. And by attending today's webinar, you will qualify for a professional development certificate. So the details of how to access this will be available at the end. Thank you very much for joining, and over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Kat, and welcome everybody. So my name's Paul Williams. I'm the Health Safety and Environment Service Manager here at ECA, so supporting ECA members with health and safety issues. And part of that is to support with the use of eRAMS, which is the free to use risk assessment software. This is my favourite cartoon about risk assessment, and it doesn't have to be a mastermind task. You know, clearly there's a legal requirement in the UK. We have a risk-based approach to health and safety, and the Health and Safety at Work Regulations 99 require a risk assessment, which is straightforward, identifying hazards, deciding what the severity likelihood is, how you control them, and then how you review it. It's not rocket science, and of course managing hazards is part of everyday life. Every time you cross the road, every time you drive a car, we're managing hazards. So it doesn't have to be a big, massive, difficult thing. It can be straightforward, and I think eRAMS helps you with that, helps to make it much more manageable. So what I'm going to do is talk about four things: what the features of eRAMS are, so the key features, not everything, because it does do a lot of different things. What are the key things that it deals with and that you can use it for? What are the benefits? How it helps you support compliance? And lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about AI in terms of risk assessment, and we'll just cover some of the key points around that. So without further ado, let's talk about the key features. So clearly it's web enabled, straightforward to use. It follows the HSE requirements in terms of their 5 steps model. It was developed with member input. You can bespoke it. You can also develop and create COSH assessments and manual handling assessments. You can include site photos and also a cover sheet. And one of the most useful and more recent features is the ability to send RAMS electronically from within the software. So let's drill down on each of those a little bit more. So first of all, it's straightforward. So it's a web-based, web-enabled piece of software, and there's a single account. So if you're an ECA member, you have one account where you access all your RAMS. What you can also do is create the sign-ons. So if, say, you have 2 or 3 project managers, they can have their own sign-on, but everybody sees all the RAMS. The advantage of that, of course, is that if somebody goes on holiday or they're off sick or leaves the business, you've still got the RAMS available. If you create sign-ons for individuals, that also improves the traceability because you can see who's done what with the particular RAMS, which is a useful additional feature. One of the things that I think is really great about eRAMS, it was developed with ECA members. I think it must be getting on for 10 years old now. I think it was developed about 2016 or even a little bit earlier, with members, so focus groups, member involvement, being developed in-house by our own in-house IT development team. So it's very much geared to the work you do and the hazards that you deal with respect to the work you do. The other really good bit about that is it's an iterative process. So as members say, oh, what about adding this feature or changing it and improving it? We take that on board and we have a list, and we're intending to carry on with focus groups to further develop the product to make it even more useful and user friendly. So your user experience improves as you use the software. It's straightforward, and this is just really, I suppose, for me, feedback from members that use the software. They say it's straightforward. We've improved the look and feel of it a couple of years ago now to make it a lot more similar to the way you might use LinkedIn or Facebook, much more user-friendly in that respect, and make it multi-device enabled, so you can use the software on an iPad or a laptop or even a mobile phone. So let me talk about some of the bespoke features. So members asked that they wanted to actually make features within eRAMS unique to their own organization. So we've done that in 3 particular ways. The first one is the hazards. So there is built within the software, there's some 90 odd different hazards with controls that we've created which are generic for managing that hazard. What this feature does enable you to amend those and create your own, so that you can create controls that are unique to your business and the way you manage that particular hazard. So for example, you can reference particular procedures or processes or ways that you work when you're dealing with a particular hazard. So that's a bespoke feature that once you add into the software remains there. The second one is with the method statements, the systems of work, the step-by-step sequence, if you like, of how the job's going to be carried out. And with this feature, what you can do is develop your own. You can add images into that description. And again, it stays within the software for you to then use. Particularly useful if you have projects that are similar, and then you can adapt the method of work to suit particular circumstances. Because as we know, risk assessment is a contextual process and it is a dynamic process. But this helps you save time and to manage more effectively your method statement elements of a risk assessment process, an eRAMS process. The third thing that's bespoke now within the software is the PPE. So that you've got your 5 points of PPE. In fact, there are 8 just typically used PPE items that you can select that operatives need to wear when they're doing this particular task. What this feature now enables you to do is add your own unique PPE. So for example, we have quite a lot of ECA members who work in the food industry. In the food industry, hairnets are a requirement. So you can add that into the software to save you having to type it in each time. It then becomes an option on the drop-down list. So that's quite neat. And you can also add specific requirements in terms of a particular EN ISO standard for software that might be your requirement, or it might be, say, a client requirement. So they're the bespoke enabled features that you can use eRAMS with. The other things you can do are add COSH assessments and manual handling assessments. So COSH, or the Control of Substances Hazardous to Health regulations, require for certain substances that you carry out a specific risk assessment, and particularly if there are workplace exposure limits involved. So this feature of eRAMS allows you to take a material safety data sheet and add the information from that into the software, and then you have a pre-populated list of substances that you can then select to add in to that particular set of RAMs. So you'll see there on the screenshot I've just shown the Fusion PC adhesive, which is typically a substance used for cable jointing in our industry. So once that information is added, it appears there and can be selected for any particular RAMs. And naturally, you can go in and amend the controls and the way you use that substance, depending on the context of the particular work or project that the RAMS is being created for. Likewise with manual handling. So if there's a requirement for manual handling risk assessment, if there's a significant amount of manual handling as part of the job, what you're able to do is to choose features of hazard that you can then put controls in to manage. So that follows typically the tile approach that the HSE is. So task, individual, load and environment, and different aspects of those features that you can decide how you're going to manage and control. So that's another additional risk assessment feature for eRAMS that then gets included into the final version of the RAMS. Of course, you can control and manage the likelihood and severity through using the matrix that's available within the software as well, which is an important feature that is displayed on the PDF when you create the RAMS. You can also add a cover sheet and photos. So this is what the cover sheet looks like on a completed RAMS. If you select this option within the software, what it enables you to do is to put a cover sheet on the front, and then you can perhaps put a description of the project. Some members use it to describe their organisation and the sort of work they do. You could put an image of the building that's being worked on or the task that's being developed. What you can also do is, if you see where it says where the ECA logo is, you can drop your own company logo into that section. So you can brand the front page to suit your particular organisation. And members have reported that A, it makes it look really professional, and B, clients really like it. So if you're doing a submission for a big job, and part of the submission documentation is an example RAMS, which is quite common, then it just gives it that extra professional touch, I think. The other thing you can do is add photos within the RAMS. So the software enables you to create a table of pretty much any size you want and drop images into the table and then add a description of each image. So I've just got some examples there of the screen on the screen of the way it looks like. So you could put a plan in, you could put an image of the equipment that's being used, image of the work area, what's to be done. Or so some members use this for before and after photos. This is what it was like, and this is what we expect it to look like. And even a few members have used it for health and safety visual standards. So what good looks like in terms of how you use equipment or how you carry out a particular task. So do it this way, don't do it that way. So I think that's a really good and powerful feature of eRAMS. And after all, a picture paints 1,000 words, doesn't it? So the last element I want to talk to you about in terms of features of eRAMS is the electronic signatures. So within eRAMS, what you're able to do is add people's names and emails, and then when the risk assessment has been completed and signed by the author, from within the software, you can generate emails with a link attachment that gets sent out to the people that you nominate. They can then click on the link and acknowledge that they've read the particular RAMS that you've sent to them. So on this part of the software, on this page, you simply select the people you want to send it to. They can be pre-populated, or you can add them just particularly if there are changes, as there often are, you can add and change people that you want to send this to. So provided they have a means of contact, you can do that, usually with email, but you can send it via link, say in WhatsApp or something like that. They then open the document. There's an opportunity for them to click. This is the screenshot of once the link's opened in an email, to say that they've signed the RAMS, they've been through it and they agree it. What the software then does is record that information on the landing page. So I've just done a screenshot there of some example RAMS, and you'll see the little stars here. There are green stars and yellow stars. The yellow star is where it's been signed by the author, but not all signatures have been received, that have been sent out. Where it's turned green, it means that all the people who have been requested to sign it have done so. So that's a really nice, useful feature of eRAMS, and it's proven very popular. And then finally, what the software automatically does is add a method statement operative register. So what that will give you on the end of the RAMS is a register of all the people that have been sent the RAMS and acknowledged that they've seen the RAMS and have read the RAMS. So really useful tool. The members have been really interested and excited with this, and it's really helped. It helps streamline, it helps with compliance, it helps with environmental impact and having to print off PDAs for people to physically sign. So I think it's a really useful development for the software, and it's been welcomed by ECA members, certainly. So what are the benefits? I think the benefits are fairly obvious, certainly efficiency in terms of time and cost, and it's free to ECA members. So if you're already a member, you can access it with no extra cost, which is brilliant. I think it helps to manage risk. And I think there's a really important element around professionalism. That's something that members continually feedback to me that, you know, it looks good and it helps them look professional in their interactions with their clients. How does it support compliance? Well, pardon me, sorry. As we know, the health and safety legislation in the UK is risk-based. It's not rule-based as it is in the United States, where basically they have a big book of rules, and if there's a rule, you have to follow it. But if there's no rule, you can do what you like. That's essentially the way their system works. Ours is risk-based, so you have to look at the hazards and make a determination. So it helps you with that process. It's linked with the 5 steps, so the HSC's guidance on completing effective occupational health and safety risk assessments. So that's around identifying hazards, assessing the risk, controlling the risk, recording and reviewing your findings. And linked with the hierarchy of controls, so making sure that controls effectively either eliminate or manage the risk for most or all of the people who are exposed. You can send RAMS electronically. Well, that helps with audit trails and version control. And there's a nice feature within eRAMS, I've just done a little screenshot of it there, where each version and each revision of a RAMS is recorded within the software. So anytime you can go back to a previous revision and you can see what changes have been made to that particular RAMS, which I think is a useful tool that's available once you're in the software. Okay, so that's my brief roundup of things eRAMS can do. If you're a member and you want to know more, speak to your regional manager and certainly put questions in chat that we can then pass on. As the health and safety team, we do demos as well, actually showing the software and even workshops on effective use of the software and more broadly legal requirements and what good looks like in terms of RAMS and method statements, which some people need help with. So feel free to follow that up if it's of interest to you. So I wanted to just talk about one or two other things, and one of them is AI and occupational health and safety risk. So AI is all around us. It's becoming mainstream, and as organizations, we need to embrace it and see what it can do to help us be more effective at running our businesses and being successful. So we certainly don't want to be scared of it, but I think we just need to think about how we use it in terms of occupational health and safety at work and what some of the risks around that might be. So it's, you know, as I said before, the legislation in the UK is risk-based in the UK, and large language models, which are a particular feature of artificial general intelligence that are used via gateways like ChatGPT and Copilot and others, trawl through lots of information. And if it's rule-based, so if there are lots of rules, it makes it much easier, I think, to assimilate and provide information to a question that's asked. Is it truly intelligent? No. it's not. Effectively, what it is a probability engine. The large language models, anyway, they're trained on data. They then scroll through data to look for the likelihood of the next word, because that's really all they're looking for. Who knows where it'll go? I think we're on the start of a massive change, so there will be big changes to come. But at the moment, what they're good at is specific narrow task, pattern recognition, data analysis, rather than cognitive ability, which you need to use when you're managing risk, I think. I looked into the HSE and how they might regulate around this, and the indications from what I read on the website and other information, they'll be looking at the output, not where the information was generated. So if someone uses AI to generate a way to manage occupational health and safety hazard and something bad happens, the HSE are just going to say, well, okay, use this information. You're the person who is having to manage the risk. You're the organisation. It's down to you. Because I think there are loads of reasons for that. One is that probably nobody knows where the data will have come from anyway. And there's a little bit of case law and civil law around this already. So the risk rests with you as an organisation. So it's very much important to be aware of that, I think. And then there are other compliance challenges like GDPR, protecting data, insurance is an issue as well, privacy of data, confidentiality, that kind of stuff, not always so visible. I found this study, Columbia University this year did a study which I thought was interesting. So they published a published article was given to various engines, and they 60% of them got things wrong, like identifying the source of the news article, where the excerpt was, so citing correct publishers and dates. So bear in mind, this stuff is trawling through a vast amount of data. It's probably really useful for an initial use, but actually it needs a careful eye where you're managing a health and safety risk to make sure that the information is accurate. Another example is Tony Sidwell, who's our head of health and safety environment at ECA, put a question into one of the engines, which was, is a building, excuse me, I'm just having to move the box. Is a Building Safety Act policy a legal requirement? So the first answer in AI was, yes, Building Safety Act policy is a legal requirement. For those of you who've used AI at all, you very often get an overview answer, but then you can do a deep dive. You then did a deep dive, and it said, in essence, you don't explicitly need a building safety policy, which both Tony and I think is the correct answer. But it was interesting to see that the initial answer was, yeah, you need one, but subsequently the deep dive said no. I've looked with occupational health and safety with this area, particularly to do with training. So in actual fact, in UK law, there's very little bits of health and safety legislation that require explicit training over a particular periodicity. But because a large language model would be searching data, or a bot that's looking through websites, we're pulling lots of training information from training providers, you can get a skewed answer, which says actually, yes, it is a requirement, because they're saying it is, when the reality of the legislation is that it isn't. So I think that's an interesting one. And of course, AI can't understand this. That good health and safety management is about being on site, looking at the real-time hazards and managing them effectively. So that's my overview, just brief overview of eRAMS and how it can be used and some of the key features of it, which I think are useful, and some of the precautions to take when you're looking at using AI to assist you with occupational health and safety. And finally, just to finish off, I've just got a few citations from testimonials from users of eRAMS. So Paul Kent from Kent Electrical, save time and money. Matthew Dodson from Vic Copeland says it's paramount in their projects. Darren Price from Goodwin and Price looks professional. And Steve Whiteman, day to day, the welcoming eRAMS with open arms. So there's some of the many positive comments we've had from members about using this free to use risk assessment software. So, any questions, Kat? Has anybody got anything they want to ask?
Thank you, Paul. That was a really interesting presentation. We haven't got any in at the moment, so please feel free to submit them. There's just a Q&A button. And I've just dropped a link into the chat where you can download your professional development certificate.
And also it's here too. I've just put it on
Yes.
screen for you. So if you want to use that QR code. So other things that the health and safety team provide, we do free site visits. We help and support with your documentation. There is a host of information on the ECA website that's free to members, Toolbox talks and the like. And we can help with common questions around competent advice, around support with compliance requirements from people like CHAS and organisations like that. The other thing we provide is mental health training, mental health first aid and other training, which is heavily subsidised. So the health and safety offer is actually quite comprehensive for you as members. So do have a look into it and see what might be of interest and use to you.
Yeah, so obviously you can go onto the ECA website and go onto the health and safety section, and there's information about everything there, or just pick up with your regional team who can advise. Okay, we've got a couple of questions coming in. So
Okay.
First question, can you pull several risk assessments into one document for a project?
So you can save individual risk assessments on your platform. If you wanted to pull different risk assessments in, because they're task-based, you'd be looking at elements of a project. What you can do is add more than one system of work. So you could say, if all the other things are common, you could say, well, okay, the system of work for this element of the project is this, for this element is this. So that's the way you could use it if you were managing different tasks on a project. It's primarily designed as a task-specific, sorry, I got the dog's teeth in, a task-specific piece of software.
Okay, thank you. And another question, can you backdate RAMS reports?
No, you can't backdate RAMS reports.
Thank you. So obviously this has been kind of an overview session. If you do want to know more in depth and have like a run through of the actual software, just pick up with your regional team, and Paul will be happy to run you through things.
Absolutely, always happy to help and support you with using eRAMS and being more effective with it. And some of the other, I mean, we just covered the main features, but it can do a lot of different things and it's very easy to use.
And Paul is actually doing a more in-depth run-through session on the 16th, so next week.
That's right, yeah.
Again, a virtual session, so I will drop the link for that if you'd like to join that too.
Yeah, so that's an actual demo of the software. So this is where I run through pages of the software and how you use it and give you an example of a completed RAMS so you can see how that works.
Just drop that in the chat. Another question, can you have a cover page per project rather than one cover page for all?
Yes, yeah, so you can amend the cover page. You could amend the cover page for each project that you use. So the cover page works as a generic area within the software. So you would put an image in and write the text for that project. And when you wanted to do a new one, you would change that image and change that text. So that's the way it would work. Some just to add to that, actually, Kat, some of the larger members have one or two people who are, if you like, admins for the RAM, so they're familiar with the way that's done, and then it would be easy enough to have it as a Word document and just paste in, because you can very quickly and easily paste information in and out of the software in various fields, like the front cover sheet, for example.
So obviously eRAMS is completely free to ECA members. You can just access it via the ECA website. Also, as Paul mentioned, any feedback you have on the platform, any new features or anything, we're always happy to hear from you, so that we can improve it and make it even better for you.
Yeah, and indeed, that's how it gets to be as good as it does, by practical use. People who want to make it easier for them to do good risk assessments and method statements, and after all, keep people safe, which is what we're really, the underlying aim of all of this is.
We've got a couple of questions from current users about some sort of issues that they've been having. So
okay, well, we can deal with those
yeah,
separately. That's fine.
Yeah, perhaps we'll pick up with them. Yes, just so we can help you through that. Maybe we can do a demo with you both. So I will pick up with these members afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, there is a, just to add to what you're saying, Kat, there is a feature of the eRAMS where if you want help or support, you can log that, and that automatically goes to our membership and our software team, our IT team, to triage and deal with. There are also 8 or 9 videos and a manual online as well that you can access if you want help with using particular aspects of the software. But yeah, we can take that up separately.
Yep, yeah, we'll help you out. Hopefully.
They just need to leave contact details so we can get back to them.
Any more questions at all? Obviously, if anyone has any questions that they think of after the session, again, just get in touch and we will answer them.
Be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I think we can leave it there, but thank you very much everyone for joining. If we haven't answered your questions, I will get your contact details and we'll be in touch.
So Kat, I've just seen another question. Can it be used for other trades? Well, yes, absolutely. So you can use eRAMS for any occupational health and safety risk assessment process. It doesn't have to be electrical.
Oh, even better. Right, okay. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. If you want to share this with anyone on your team, just look out on the ECA website. This recording will be up in the next day. All right, thank you, Paul.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for giving up your time.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.